The sky above the alien world was greenish gold, glowing like fire trapped in glass. A sharp scream tore through the clouds. A burning human escape pod shot across the sky, leaving behind a trail of smoke. Inside the pod, Daniel Reeve gritted his teeth. The controls were dead, the radio silent. The ship had been shot during a recon mission near the outer rim. Now, he was falling toward an unmarked planet, one that wasn't even on the official star maps. The pod slammed into the Kaushte ground, skidding across red sand and stone. It finally came to a stop, half buried in a dune. Daniel coughed and pushed open the hatch. His head throbbed. His suit's eye flickered weakly. Oxygen limited. Temperature rising. But he was alive. He looked around. The landscape was dry, strange, and eerily silent. Spikes of stone pierced the sky like broken teeth. The place felt wrong. Not dangerous, but... Watch. Daniel climbed out and limped away from the crash. He had to find shade, water, anything. But after just a few steps, something shifted in the distance, movement. He turned fast. A tall figure stood atop a ridge, backlit by the dying sun. It held a long, jagged spear and wore a dark hood. Then, another figure appeared. And another. They were surrounding him. Daniel raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm just human." Suddenly, one figure leapt down from the rocks. She moved fast, landing lightly in the sand with barely a sound. The others stayed back, watching. The lone warrior walked up to him slowly, her face hidden under a mask carved from bone. She was taller than him, slim but strong. Alien patterns glowed faintly across her skin. Her eyes locked on him, bright, icy blue. She didn't speak, just lowered the spear until it was pointed at his chest. Daniel froze. "I'm not your enemy. I crashed here." Before he could finish, the spear tip touched his shirt, not stabbing, just pressing. Her voice was low, calm, but firm. "Exactly what we feared." Then, without warning, she swung the spear and struck him behind the knees. Daniel fell, groaning in pain. The other warriors rushed in and tied his hands with vines that stung like fire. They dragged him through the sand while he struggled to stay conscious. As they walked, the leader, the masked woman, never took her eyes off him. She didn't blink, didn't smile, just stared. They passed strange ruins, half-buried machines twisted into the rocks. This place had history, maybe even war. Daniel saw symbols scratched into stone walls. They looked like warning signs. Finally, they reached a village built around a circle of stone pillars. Fires burned low. Alien children peeked out from behind tents, whispering. Daniel was thrown onto the ground in front of a group of elders, alien men and women with pale blue skin and long robes. "He bleeds red," said the masked woman, "and he speaks the ancient tongue." An elder stepped forward, old and wise-looking. His voice was like wind across glass. "What is your name, outsider?" "Daniel," he said, breathing hard. "Daniel Reeve. I crashed here. I'm not a soldier, just a scout." The elder looked at the woman. "You say he spoke the human tongue?" "Yes," she replied, "fluent. And he carries metal tools." A second elder gasped. "He's one of them. The ones from the old war, the ones who awakened the silence." "I don't know what you're talking about," Daniel said, struggling to sit up. "I swear, I don't." The masked woman stepped forward again. Slowly, she pulled off her mask. Daniel stared. She was young, maybe his age. Beautiful, but fierce, her face marked with scars that told stories of battle. Her silver hair shimmered under the firelight, but her eyes, those blue eyes held no mercy. "I am Visha, daughter of the last warden," she said. "You are the first human to step here in 100 years. Daniel blinked. "Then maybe it's time we start over. I'm not here to fight." She crouched beside him and looked deep into his eyes. "You don't even know why we fear you." Before he could answer, something strange happened. A humming sound echoed through the village. Faint, almost like a whisper in the wind, one of the stone pillars nearby began to glow, just slightly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Everyone turned. The elder looked shocked. It has not responded since the day we sealed the gate. It's reacting to him, someone said. V.E.S.H.A. stood. Her face turned cold. You carry something old, she said. Something that should have stayed buried. Daniel shook his head. I don't even know what that is. But even as he spoke, a warm pulse beat against his chest. He looked down. His necklace, a simple metal tag, was glowing, and somewhere, deep beneath the ground, something ancient stirred. Daniel sat in the dark cell, his back pressed against cold stone. He didn't know how many hours had passed since Vesha and the others locked him up. His arms were tied, his gear gone. Only the strange metal tag around his neck remained, still warm, still glowing. He had tried to rest, but whispers echoed through the stone walls. Voices, not from guards, from the walls themselves. Like something was watching. Then the cell door creaked open. Vesha entered alone, holding a bowl of thick blue liquid. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. Daniel sat up. What is that, poison? Vesha raised a brow. Soup, she said simply, placing the bowl in front of him. He looked at her carefully. You're being kind now? I'm watching, she replied. He picked up the bowl, hands still tied, and took a careful sip. It was bitter, but warm. His chest eased just a little. Why do you fear humans so much? He asked. Vesha didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned her eyes toward the glowing relic tied around his neck. Your kind came here long ago. She finally said, not to help, not to understand. You came looking for power. I'm not them. You carry the same blood, she whispered. Before Daniel could respond, the elder appeared in the doorway. His robe shimmered with embedded crystals. Bring him to the circle. It is time. 2 warriors entered, lifted Daniel by his arms, and dragged him out. The village was silent as they passed. Children hid behind walls. Elders looked down. The path led to the ancient circle of stones where the relic had glowed. Now, every pillar on the circle was lit, symbols pulsing slowly. Daniel was pushed to the center. The elder raised his staff. This world was once balanced, he said, his voice loud and clear. Until humans touched what was forbidden. The silence, the ancient one, was never meant to wake. Your kind woke it. I didn't, Daniel said, desperate. I don't even know what the silence is. Lies, one of the villagers growled, but the elder held up a hand. Perhaps not. That is why we test. From behind the circle, warriors brought out a new object, a long crystal blade set in metal. They placed it at the elder's feet. This weapon is older than our cities, he said. It responds only to the blood of the fireless one. If it awakens, then we will know. Daniel's heart raced. Know what? The elder picked up the blade and stepped forward. That your blood is cursed. He sliced a shallow line across Daniel's arm. Daniel winced. But what happened next made everyone freeze. The blood that spilled wasn't normal. It glowed red gold for a moment, like liquid fire, then faded back to dark red. Gasps erupted. The prophecy, someone whispered. The burning blood. Daniel stared in shock. That's not normal. The crystal blade began to hum. Its edge shimmered, and a faint ripple passed through the circle of stones. Lights danced between them like slow lightning. Vesha stepped forward, her hand trembling. It's true, she said. He has the mark. Daniel looked from face to face. Everyone had backed away from him. Even the elder seemed shaken. I didn't choose this, Daniel said, breathing hard. I don't know what it means. The silence knows. The elder whispered. It called you. Daniel looked down at his glowing tag. I didn't hear anything, he said. The elder leaned in. Not yet. That night, they tied Daniel to a stone platform at the edge of the village. Guards stood watch, but no one dared go near. Not even Vesha. The wind grew colder. Daniel stared up at the alien sky. 2 moons hanging like glowing eyes. He had never felt so alone. Then a voice whispered into his ear, but no one was there. Cursed, chosen. He looked around, panic rising. Who said that? No answer. His tag burned hot. He grit his teeth, trying to rip it off. But the chain wouldn't break. In the shadows, Vesha watched from behind a tree. She saw him struggling, saw the fear in his eyes, and for the first time she felt doubt. Her whole life, she had been trained to hate humans. But Daniel looked more like a prisoner than a threat. Suddenly, a gust of wind shot through the village, carrying a deep, mechanical echo, not like anything alive. The relic stone near Daniel flared bright red. Guards shouted and backed away. Weapons raised, Vesha ran forward. Get him away from it. But it was too late. The light from the stone pulsed once. Then a second relic buried in the sand answered back. And beneath the ground, something massive stirred, groaning like a sleeping giant waking up. The ground trembled like thunder trapped below the surface. Villagers screamed and scattered. Torches fell. Dust filled the air. Everyone backed away from the glowing relics, except Vesha. She ran toward the shaking stones. Daniel still lay, tied to the stone platform, eyes wide, tag burning like a brand against his skin. Get him loose. Vesha shouted. The guards hesitated, but her voice carried the authority of a warden's blood. 2 warriors ran forward, cutting Daniel's bonds. He dropped to the ground with a grunt, barely able to move. Vesha caught his arm and pulled him to his feet. You brought this, she said, eyes wild. Whether you know it or not. I didn't mean to. Daniel shouted over the rumble. I don't even know what this place is. Vesha dragged him away from the relic circle. Behind them, the red light formed shapes, circles within circles, symbols no one had seen for 100 years. Suddenly, everything stopped. The wind froze, the ground silenced. Even the stars above seemed to blink. And in that stillness, a voice spoke again, but this time everyone heard it. Time resumes. The relics went dark. No one moved. Then the elder stepped forward, his face pale. Bring him to the Hall of Echoes, he said, barely above a whisper. Now, the Hall of Echoes was hidden beneath the village. Vesha led Daniel down winding stone stairs lit by crystals that pulsed softly like sleeping hearts. The air was heavy, old, full of forgotten things. Ancient murals covered the walls, images of humans standing beside strange machines, of stars falling, of doors in the sky opening and closing. What is this place? Daniel asked, voice hushed. Our history, Vesha said. The parts we were told never to speak aloud. They reached a chamber at the bottom. A pool of black water rested in the center. Around it, dozens of smooth stones floated silently, as if gravity had forgotten them. This is where the silence was named, the elder said, already waiting. Daniel looked at him. You keep saying that. What is the silence? The elder gestured to the floating stones. Touch one, he said. Then you'll see. Daniel stepped forward slowly. The closest stone hovered in front of him, spinning gently. He reached out. The moment his fingers touched it, a burst of images shot through his mind, not memories, but echoes. Humans hundreds of years ago, stepping onto this world in heavy suits, carrying scanners and tools. They found a relic buried in the mountain. It spoke to them in perfect English. It promised to give answers. One by one, the humans touched it. And one by one, their minds changed. Then came the screams, as the machine beneath the surface activated. Whole forests were wiped away. Oceans boiled. Time bent and twisted. And then, silence. The humans were gone. The machine slept again. Daniel stumbled back, gasping. That wasn't just a vision, he said. That was real, Vesha nodded slowly. The silence doesn't kill with weapons. It judges, it tests, and when it finds weakness, it resets everything. Daniel looked around. So why did it react to me? Because your kind woke it. Once, the elder said, and now it remembers your blood. Daniel looked down at his hands, shaking. I'm not like them. I was born hundreds of years later. I don't want any of this. The silence doesn't care what you want, Vesha replied. It sees only what you are. The elder walked closer. There may still be time, he said. The silence has many locks. Only one opens its final voice. If you are truly innocent, you won't trigger it. But if I'm not? The elder's eyes hardened. Then you will bring the end again. Later that night, Daniel sat alone at the edge of the village. Vesha approached, sitting beside him. You saved me today, he said. I saved us all, she corrected. If you had stayed near the relic, it might have opened more than memory. He looked at her. Why do you believe me now? She stared ahead. Because when the echoes showed you the past, you cried. Daniel looked away. They died because of us. No, Vesha said. They died because they didn't listen. Long silence followed. Daniel pulled the tag from around his neck and handed it to her. You want to keep this? Maybe it's safer with you. Vesha took it carefully. It no longer glowed, but she still treated it like a live flame. Tomorrow, she said, we take you to the second relic. It's deeper, hidden. No one has touched it in generations. Daniel frowned. And what if it wakes again? She stood and looked down at him. Then we find out if the silence was right to fear you, or wrong. At dawn, the village was silent, not out of peace but fear. A heavy mist rolled across the cliffs as Vesha led Daniel through narrow stone paths carved into the mountainside. Below, the valley stretched out like a scar, glowing faintly with ancient lights buried deep in the earth. Behind them, 4 silent guards followed, spears sharp, eyes cold. Daniel walked with tired legs and a heavier heart. He had barely slept. The vision still haunted him. Fire swallowing forests. Screens trapped in time. A machine that watched from beneath the soil. Where are we going? He asked. To the maw, Vesha replied. It's where the first humans were judged. Is this a test? It's a sentence, she said. But you can still survive it. Daniel frowned. That doesn't sound encouraging. They reached a large stone gate, half buried in the mountainside. Giant gears lined the frame, unmoving for centuries. Vesha pressed her palm to a broken emblem in the center. It pulsed once with blue light. The doors opened with a roar. Dust rising like breath from a grave. Inside was darkness. The trial of the fireless, Vesha said softly. If you pass, you leave free. If not, Daniel looked at her. What happens if I fail? The silence decides. Guards stepped forward and handed him a small torch and a bone dagger. That was all. No gun? He muttered. Vesha shook her head. Guns mean nothing here. He took the torch, glanced once more at her face, unreadable, but not unkind, and stepped into the dark. The doors slammed shut behind him. The tunnel twisted like the inside of a snake. Walls shimmered faintly, as if veins of light flowed. Just beneath the stone, the silence was complete. Even Daniel's footsteps seemed swallowed by the dark. Then a voice echoed, soft, female, and ancient. He enters. Alone, Daniel froze. Who's there? No reply. Suddenly the walls shifted, not moved, changed. One moment they were stone. The next they looked like glass, showing flickers of memories. Daniel's memories. His childhood. His first space flight. The moment he signed up for deep recon. Then he saw his crash, the pod falling, fire outside. Panic in his chest. And then something else, something he didn't remember. A vision of him, standing in front of the silence's core. The sky falling, a voice screaming in alien tongue. No. That didn't happen, he whispered. That's not real. The image blinked away. He kept walking. The path led to a chamber shaped like a sphere, with 5 doors, each marked by different symbols. One pulsed gently. He stepped through it. Suddenly, the ground beneath him gave out. He dropped like a stone into black water, the torch dying instantly. He fought to swim, but invisible currents pulled him down. Then, just as he thought he would drown, the water disappeared. He landed hard on cold metal. Lights flickered on. A massive empty hall opened before him, lined with floating orbs. One hovered closer. Projected a hologram, a recording. A human captain stood in the image. To whoever finds this, we made a mistake. We tried to understand the silence, but we opened something too old, too alive. If this message plays, we are likely already dead. The image faded. Daniel stood in the quiet. His breath echoed. A second orb floated down. Do you accept judgment? A voice asked. Daniel looked up. What judgment? To determine if your kind should be erased or redeemed. He clenched his fists. I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to go home. Then show us why we should let you. A door opened behind him, revealing a new corridor, lined with strange roots pulsing with red light. He walked through, dagger in hand. Halfway in, a soft whimper echoed from the dark. Daniel raised his torch. In the corner, a small alien child, curled up, arm broken, crying. What? He stepped closer. The wall trembled. A beam above cracked. Without thinking, Daniel threw himself forward, shielding the child with his body. The stone crashed down and stopped frozen. Inches from his back, the lights turned white. The voice returned. You chose to protect, not to fight. The stone lifted. The child vanished. It had all been a test. Daniel stood, shaking. Trial complete, the voice said. The fireless is not fireless. He is change. The floor rose, lifting him toward the surface. Outside, the sun was rising. The doors of the mountain opened again. Vesha stood waiting. Daniel walked out, eyes tired, hands shaking, but alive. The guards stared in silence. He lives, one whispered. Vesha stepped forward. What did you see? He looked at her with strange calm. I saw what humans were, he said, and maybe what we still could be. But deep in the mountains, a new relic lit up, without anyone touching it. The ground had stopped shaking, but something had changed. Daniel felt it. So did Vesha. When he walked out of the trial of the fireless, the relics began to hum quietly, like a creature breathing in its sleep. The villagers said nothing, but every glance followed Daniel, not with hate, not anymore. Now they looked at him like a riddle waiting to be solved. That night, Vesha led him far from the village, past dry riverbeds and shattered stone towers. Moonlight shimmered over the land like silver dust. Where are we going? Daniel asked, still sore from the trial. To the wound, Vesha said. Where the first machine fell. Daniel raised a brow. Fell? Yes, she whispered. From the sky. They reached it just before dawn. A crater massive, deep, and unnatural. At the center, broken metal ribs jutted out like a skeleton's cage. Alien moss and time had covered much of it, but the size still stole Daniel's breath. It's a ship, he said. Vesha nodded. Not ours, not yours, something older. Together, they climbed down carefully. Every step felt heavier. The air grew cold. At the bottom, a dark archway waited, its edges marked with swirling lines that almost moved. It speaks in dreams. Vesha said, the elders won't come near it. Daniel hesitated. And you? I've already heard it, she said, her voice quiet. Since I was a child, but it never answered. She looked at him. Maybe it's waiting for you. Daniel stepped toward the arch. The moment his hand touched the metal, the entire crater pulsed. A blue glow spread through the ship's skeleton. Then, a door opened, not with sound, But silence. Inside was darkness, but not empty. They entered the hallway inside was carved from metal that felt too smooth, too alive. Lights flickered like stars above them. Strange sounds echoed, not mechanical, but soft, like singing far away. Daniel reached for his flashlight, but the glow from his tag was enough to see. Symbols lit up on the walls, reacting to his presence. Vesha's voice was low. "It's remembering." They passed empty chambers filled with floating cubes, silent machines shaped like flowers, and mirrors that reflected not just their faces, but their memories. Then, they reached a wide chamber at the core, and it spoke, not aloud, but into their minds. "Human, you carry the last key. The silence has known you since your birth." Daniel swallowed. "What are you?" The answer came, slow and terrible. "I am the lock, the first gatekeeper, the judge who watched your kind fail." Vesha stepped back, her hand on her blade. Daniel stood still. "Why me?" "Because you feel, you fear, you bleed." He shook his head. "I didn't ask for this." "I'm just human," the voice interrupted. "Yes, and yet, not like before." Images filled the air. Ancient humans, greedy, proud, touching things they didn't understand. Awakened machines, burned worlds. Then silence. "But not you," Vesha whispered, watching. The machine's voice deepened. The silence was built to decide, to defend, to destroy only when forced. "Then why destroy my ancestors?" Daniel asked. "Because they refused choice." A strange orb rose from the floor, spinning slowly. "You are the last bearer, the final key. The next relic sleeps beneath your village. If opened, it begins again." Daniel took a step back. "What happens if I don't open it?" "Time will forget. This world will fade, but peace remains." Vesha looked at Daniel. "You have a choice. Awaken the last relic or walk away." Daniel stared at the orb. "And if I open it?" The machine was silent. Then it answered, "Judgment." They left the ship in silence. The wind was rising now. The stars seemed dimmer. Back at the village, the elder waited. "You went to the wound," he said. "Not a question." Vesha nodded. The elder's face tightened. "It has spoken, hasn't it?" Daniel stepped forward. "The last relic. It's under the village." "We know," the elder said. "We built this place on top of it, to bury the past." Daniel looked around. "You knew I would wake it." "No," the elder said. "We feared you would, but fear is not the same as truth." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then let me see it." The elder hesitated, then stepped aside. "We can't stop you," he said. "But if the silence judges again, none of us may survive." As night fell, Daniel stood at the edge of the burial ground behind the village. The earth below pulsed faintly now, like something breathing. Vesha stood beside him. "Do you believe you were meant for this?" He shook his head. "I believe someone has to make the choice." He placed his hand on the soil. The ground opened, and deep below, the final relic awakened. The earth groaned as it opened. Dust rose in slow, swirling clouds. Glowing lines formed circles in the soil beneath Daniel's feet, stretching wider, brighter, alive. The ground behind the village, the place the elders had sworn never to touch, was no longer silent. The final relic had awakened. A soft hum filled the air, low and constant, like the breathing of a god. The villagers gathered in silence, standing at the edge of their homes. Even the elders said nothing. They only watched. Daniel stood alone at the center of the glowing circle, staring into the pit that had opened below him. A staircase of light began to form, spiraling downward. He turned to Vesha. "Tell me I don't have to do this." Vesha's voice was quiet, steady. "You don't. But if I don't, what happens?" She didn't answer. The hum grew louder. Daniel swallowed hard and stepped onto the first glowing stair. The descent felt endless. Each step pulsed beneath his feet, as though the relic were reading him. Heartbeat, memory, breath, the walls. Around him shimmered with living metal like water frozen in time. Then, he reached the core. It was a vast chamber. At its center stood a structure like a throne, but no one sat on it. Instead, a sphere floated above it, swirling with white and gold light. It pulsed gently, like a sleeping sun. And when Daniel stepped close, it spoke, not in voice, but in feeling. Final bearer. You have come. Daniel took a breath. I didn't choose to be this. No one ever does. He stared at the sphere. So what now? The answer came in 3 clear words. Make your choice. The chamber changed. 2 paths opened, one to his left, one to his right. On the left, a cold tunnel of machines, sharp and endless. Images of fire, silence, and death flickered within. On the right, a garden, quiet and peaceful. The machines within it were dark, powered down. Safe. Left, the relic said. Resets the cycle. The world is judged. Memory erased. The silence. Begins again. Right, it continued. Ends the system. Peace, but your life will be the cost. Daniel stood still. You want me to die? Not want, the relic said. Require, to end the silence. The human spark must stay. He turned slowly between the 2 paths. Why me? He asked. I didn't cause this. I'm not a hero. The relic pulsed. You chose mercy. You chose life. The first did not. Images danced in the air around him. Past humans standing where he stood, choosing war, power, fear. But Daniel had done something different. He had shielded the child. He had asked to understand. He had hesitated. And the silence remembered that. I don't want to die. Daniel whispered. Then others will, the relic replied. His fists tightened. He looked left. Then right. The cost was clear. Above ground, Vesha stood near the relic pit, watching. Her heart pounded. The village had gone quiet again, too quiet. Even the wind had stopped. The elders murmured behind her. You will choose judgment, one said. Humans always do. No, she whispered, not this one. Then the earth shook, once deep and final. A beam of light shot into the sky, white gold and pure. The villagers fell to their knees, and then silence. Not the old, cruel silence of destruction, but true silence. Peace. Moments later, Daniel emerged from the pit. He was still alive, but barely. His skin was pale, his eyes dull, his tag burned black. Visha ran to him. What did you do? He collapsed in her arms. I chose the second path, he said, his voice weak. I gave the silence what it wanted, but you're not dead. Not yet, he whispered, but I left part of myself down there. She looked down at him, tears in her eyes. You stopped it. You ended the cycle. Daniel smiled. Faintly. Then maybe it was worth it. She held him close, and far below, in the dark heart of the relic, the system went quiet. For the first time in 1,000 years, the silence had ended, but Daniel's light was fading. Daniel didn't wake for 3 days. The village watched over him in shifts. Warriors who once wanted him dead now sat quietly beside him, eyes full of questions they didn't know how to ask. The relic pit had sealed itself. No door, no light. Just smooth stone now, as if nothing had ever been buried there. But something had changed, something no one could deny. The sky was clearer, the soil warmer, the whisper in the wind, the one the elders had feared for generations. It was gone. The silence had truly ended. But Daniel had not risen. Visha stayed by his side the whole time. She changed his bandages, wiped the sweat from his brow. And sometimes, she whispered to him, you were supposed to be the threat, she said softly, but you became our shield. On the 4th morning, Daniel's eyes fluttered open. His voice was dry, almost broken. Still here? Vesha smiled. A real one, soft and tired. I thought you were going to make me carry your bones back to Earth. He chuckled weakly. Tempting. She handed him water. He drank slowly, coughing once. Then silence stretched between them. I saw the past, he said. The silence showed me everything, not just war, but the lies that led to it. Vesha tilted her head. What lies? That humans were monsters, and that your people were perfect. Neither was true. She looked away. We believed what we were told, that humans could only destroy. Daniel reached out, touching her hand. And I believed we were alone in the stars. She didn't pull away. Outside the healing tent, the village gathered. The elder stepped forward, staff in hand. Bring him. Vesha helped Daniel to his feet. He leaned on her, still weak, but walking. As they stepped into the sunlight, the villagers fell quiet. No weapons. No chains. Just faces, watching. The elder raised his voice. Long ago, we were told to fear the humans, their fire, their greed, their blood. He looked at Daniel, and then one came, not to conquer, not to command, but to listen. A murmur spread through the crowd. He passed the trial. He entered the wound. He chose peace, even when it meant his death. The elder lowered his staff and knelt. One by one, others followed, warriors, mothers, even the children. They all lowered their heads. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Vesha whispered, "They don't kneel for kings, only for those who save what they love." Daniel blinked hard, but a tear slipped down anyway. He turned to the crowd. "I didn't do it alone. You gave me the chance. You let me prove we aren't all what the past feared." The elder looked up. "Then stay." "Fireless One," Daniel hesitated. "I have to return. My people will want to know the truth." Vesha's eyes fell for a second, just a second. "But I'll come back," Daniel added. She looked up again. "Because we have work to do," he said. "The universe is full of silence. And maybe it's time someone broke it, the right way." That night, a fire lit the skies. Daniel stood on a small ship's ramp, repaired from scraps, powered by crystal tech gifted by the villagers. Vesha stood with him. He held out his hand. She took it. "You were afraid of me once," he said. "I still am," she replied. "But not because of what you might destroy." "Then what?" "Because I'm not sure what you'll build." They smiled. He stepped aboard. As the ship rose, the villagers waved. Torches lit the ridges. Songs were sung, old songs that had never been heard while the silence ruled. Now, they returned. As Daniel vanished into the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, and across the galaxy, as the message of peace spread from one world to the next, people whispered a new legend, not of a weapon, not of a war, but of a single human who was once feared and became hope.